Some of the most anticipated blockbusters of 2025 mostly shot overseas. In many cases, production budget cuts, multiple strikes domestically, and what some describe as a California tax incentive that's no longer competitive, taking Hollywood elsewhere.
I have seen people make comparisons of Los Angeles to Detroit prior to the flight of the auto industry, and I have heard people say that we are in an existential moment.
Film LA, an organization tracking the decline, found that 2024 was the worst year for the industry in Los Angeles, only second to 2020 during the pandemic.
So far, year to date this year, we're coming in below that. We posted a 22.4% decline in on-location filming for the first quarter of this year.
Many films, TV shows, commercials, not only going overseas, but also shot in states like Georgia, Texas, or Tennessee instead of California.
Everywhere I go, it feels like a ghost town. And what's happening is there are the days where we'd work, 5 days a week have become 3 days a week, have become 2 days a week, have become 1 day every 2 weeks.
Thousands of supporting roles impacted too.
How's work been over the last year?
It's not been good. For the past 18 months, I've worked 3 months.
Shooting, editing, hair and makeup, costumes, the list is long. And while some can travel with production, others based here can't, including Wes Bailey's studio services company, Surreal.
Had to lay people off, had to downsize everywhere. People are doing 2 and 3 jobs, having to try and just to try and keep us, solvent.
Business, he says, is down about 40% over the last 2 years.
The vast majority of our industry is a blue collar and middle class labor force. It's a lot of really good jobs that have benefits when we have the work here. These are not people that can just, jet off to anywhere.
To try to get the jobs back to LA, Governor Gavin Newsom proposed a $750 million a year tax credit program. And 2 companion bills making their way through the California legislature, also hoping to increase the state's tax credit program. If passed, experts say it may work.
It's all about the money in terms of this, because that is what drives the production costs up. If you have to shoot somewhere else other than LA to keep your profitability up and your costs down.
There's hope that Hollywood won't be a sequel of America's Rust Belt.
I do see us pulling together and seeing us as Angelenos. We have to pull together and draw this work here.
But right now, fears of a flop hitting Tinseltown.
Wow, that's an eye-opener, Camilla. What do experts think it will take to get the movie biz to stay alive in California?
Well, Tom, we may not get back to pre-pandemic levels when it comes to movie theaters, for example, but experts do say that the audience is there. They're going either to the movies or maybe they're instead renting it at home and watching those movies or TV shows on their couch. So if you have the audience there, that's what's important. But the key is also the studios making more money than what they're spending, Tom.
Interesting. Camilla Bernal, thank you very much.
Hey guys, I started without even saying hello, but hello, welcome to the live. We're talking about navigating the current Hollywood industry, and I started by showing you a NBC segment on jobs leaving Los Angeles, and now let's go to Deadline with the headline, TV writers hit by drastic reduction in number of jobs, says WGA. It's been a tough couple of years for the television writers community. The Writers Guild of America revealed Friday that the number of TV writing jobs fell by 42%. I wish I could circle it. I wish I could circle it. 42% for the 2023 to 2024 season. In a new report, the Guild said that there were 1,319 television writing jobs in 2023 to 24, compared with 1,819. So 500 reduction in 1 year. This comes after the WGA spent months fighting the studios for a new contract, something the Guild said was partly to blame for the new statistics. Other reasons included the decline in original programming across the cable networks and streamers pulling back from the number of shows as Wall Street demands quicker streaming platform profits, quote. There have also been a slew of cancellations and endings of shows. According to Guild data, about 37% fewer WGA covered episodic TV series aired in the 2023 to 2024 season, 37% fewer last year. Most stark was the number of jobs lost for showrunners and co-executive producers, which saw 642 fewer jobs across the year. There were 378 fewer staff writer, story editor, and executive story editor positions compared to the previous season, as well as 299 fewer mid-level jobs, which include co-producers, consulting, and supervising producers. There has been a pretty precipitous fall since the 2018 to 2019 season, with 1,508 showrunners and co-executive producers compared to the 952 there were last season. What is that, half? 1,500, or I guess, I'm not good at math. You guys know that. If you know me at all, you know I'm not good at math, but these numbers matter now. Screenwriting work has also declined, but to a lesser degree, with screenwriter earnings down 6% for the first 3 quarters 2024, and the number of screenwriters working down 15%. Writing careers have always been difficult to access and sustain, but the contraction has made it especially challenging. We are all subject to the decisions of the companies that control this industry, who have pulled back spending on content based on the demands of Wall Street. Compounding that, the current administration seems intent on causing economic chaos and undermining our democracy, the email said. The report was sent to members by the WGA West Board of Directors and WGA East Council. The WGA, which represents over 10,000 writers, went on strike between May 2 and September 27, 2023. The strike was the second longest strike in the Guild's history at 148 days, tied with the strike in 1960, but below the 153 days that the 1988 strike lasted. It coincided with the SAG-AFTRA strike, which ran from July 14 to November 9th, 2023. Let's see if I can make this bigger. I cannot. Let's read the caption here. This is from United Masters. Ownership is a central theme of Ryan Coogler's latest film, Sinners, which has opened to rave reviews from both critics and fans. What's also being discussed is the deal Coogler brokered with Warner Bros. To bring this film to the big screen, which included full creative control, first dollar gross, and ownership reversion 25 years after its release. The deal has Hollywood executives spooked, with one telling Vulture, who reported the deal, it could be, quote, the end of the studio system. The deal draws parallels with the shift the music industry has seen, with artists embracing ownership and creative independence rather than working with major labels. Let's read the actual post. Why Ryan Coogler's ownership deal for Sinners could change Hollywood. Coogler retained final cut, received first dollar gross, and most importantly, will own the film outright 25 years after release. How Hollywood typically works. When a Hollywood studio buys a film, they typically get full creative control, make their money back before any residuals or profits are paid out to the director/cast, and own it in perpetuity so they can continue to distribute it and make money from it years after release. how Coogler's deal works. Much like an independent artist looking for a distributor, Coogler flipped this model, retaining Final Cut, creative control, received first dollar gross, makes money before the studio recoups, and most importantly, will have ownership of the film reverted to him after 25 years. While some A-list directors are able to retain Final Cut, reverting ownership of a film is uncommon, according to Vulture, who broke the news. Quentin Tarantino is the most recent director to do this for his film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Why this could change Hollywood? According to Vulture, some studio executives were freaking out, quote, about the deal because it sets a precedent, with one studio exec saying it could be the end of the studio system. While Coogler has said he sees this as a one-off deal because of Sinner's focus on themes of ownership for Black artists, this is yet another important step in the quest for independence across creative disciplines, whether you're making music or movies. All right. So if I still have your attention, if you're still with me, I wanted this to be a little bit more of a discussion, but I guess I should have had it on Zoom if I wanted that, right? But if someone is wanting to contribute, I want to ask you if you can put in the chat, you watched the news story with me about jobs going down 22%, on location filming in Los Angeles going down 22%. The number of TV writing jobs falling by 42%. And now we have this Ryan Coogler deal that is quote unquote spooking Hollywood, even though I would like to know the details of how he was able to retain that deal. Usually it's because he was able to finance the film on his own upfront, but I haven't really read that deeply into his deal. So it's important to know how he was able to secure that kind of very, very real deal. But what I would like to ask you, if you're watching and you'd like to contribute in the comments, is what story do you think that this information, these numbers are telling us? What story is Hollywood telling us right now with these numbers, with this Ryan Coogler deal? And now, I'm cherry picking, right? Because I'm clearly doing a presentation. I'm trying to make a point, but you can look anywhere and see these numbers. This kind of reporting has been all over the New York Times. It's been in The Guardian. It's been in the Atlantic. It's been in The Economist. I've seen it everywhere, talking about Hollywood, the Hollywood industry. I've seen it on trade publications like Vulture, like Variety, like Deadline. All publications that you should probably be reading, with the understanding that they are, just like all publications, they have some paid, partnerships. They have some paid reporting as well. So always take what you're reading with a grain of salt. Medium put in the comments that the story that this is telling is that only a select few will get opportunities. That's part of it. That's part of it. I guess that's the result of it. But yeah, that's kind of part of it. So I think that these numbers are telling us that there is a clear contraction in Hollywood, and that the uncertainty with the larger, broader economy is also not helping to, expand or shore up the losses that Hollywood is experiencing. You're seeing Wall Street start to not like the streaming model. They're putting pressure on Hollywood to make more money from the streaming model. I don't know if that's even possible. I don't know if our viewing habits, will actually support that. And then I think also the most important story is Coogler's too, is this pushing for ownership and independence. And the fact that is not the norm in Hollywood. Ownership and independence is not the norm in Hollywood. When you sell something to Hollywood, if you sell a television show, unless there was existing intellectual property, like you wrote a book, you wrote a play, you wrote a comic book. Unless there's existing intellectual property that is based on what you sell, you do not own that thing. And you make a payment on it once. I mean, if they buy it, let's say they make a show, so you make the money from when they made that show. Point of the matter is, the story that these numbers and that this information is telling us is that Hollywood is contracting. It's potentially going to stay contracted or continue to extract. You're seeing the reduction in jobs of showrunners. So that means that even if you get into TV writing now and you are like a staff writer, the jobs that you have to look forward to, the jobs that you get as you rise, as you get to the level of showrunner, are reducing. So there's fewer opportunities to rise. There's fewer opportunities to have longevity in the career, because most people don't want to be a staff writer or a story editor or, a co-producer forever. Eventually, people want to run their own writer's room. So that's part of the story. So my response to that is that this doesn't have to be something that is so devastating. Yes, it is absolutely not great. It's not what we'd like to see, but as a writer, as a creative, I've said this many times and I'll say it again, is that you are a business person, whether you like it or not. And it's important for you to look at these numbers and understand the story that it's trying to tell you so that you can make your own decisions and you can go with clear eyes about how you want to move forward. A lot of people always ask me, does this mean that I shouldn't even try? Does this mean that I shouldn't even, pursue it? And my answer to that, just right off the bat, is always, if you will feel like it is the greatest regret of your life to not go for it, then you should try. Then you should try, because the person who's going to get the opportunity is the person who stayed ready, so they didn't have to get ready. So stay ready for the opportunities that you want, but that means that you need to go forward with clear eyes instead of, like, I guess, rose-colored glasses. All right, let's keep this going. I think the most important thing that you can do with this understanding, like when you're trying to navigate, is to create stability for yourself wherever you can. And what does that look like? To me, I think one of the most important levels of stability that writers and creatives can create for themselves is financial stability. I think it is saving 3 to 6 months of your expenses so that you give yourself as much runway as possible in general. This doesn't matter what industry you're in, but especially if you're a creative for a living, then you should absolutely have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved. So that means that you've calculated what your monthly expenses are when it comes to food, your utilities, your bills for your car, your rent, and you save 3 to 6 months worth of that so that you can have stability for yourself as you navigate life. This is literally for everybody, but especially for writers and creatives. And then I think if you're really balling, to try to save more. If you can have more than 6 months, if you can have up to a year, is that possible for everyone? No. Is it helpful? Absolutely. So even if it's not possible, even if it's not super realistic for everybody to have a year's worth of expenses saved, it is ideal, especially for creatives. Other ways to create stability for yourself is to reduce your debt, frankly. If you can reduce debt or don't accumulate debt in the first place, avoid accumulating debt as much as possible, unless it's like this is, I was going to say unless it's a house, but this is not a financial episode. This is not a financial live. So I'm not even going to get into it, but basically reduce your debt. Don't accumulate debt. Save 3 to 6 months of expenses. Save more if you can. And then outside of your finances, where else can you create stability in your life? Where in your life is there instability, and where can you basically attack it? The way to navigate instability is to attack instability wherever it is in your life and create stability. And that's on period. All right. The next thing that I would say that is super important as you're navigating this new landscape that we're in is to take the industry off of a pedestal. Take it off the pedestal, because I know it is the dream of many, and it truly is. It can be like genuinely a very fun job. It can be, for sure. But there's also a lot of very not glamorous aspects of the TV industry. There are aspects of the TV industry that are stressful, that are toxic, that are unstable, that are smoke and mirrors, like the award season, like that, where they pay for all kinds of marketing campaigns so that they can, get those awards for their films. Every celebrity has a PR team. This is a business after all, so it is important that it appears aspirational from the outside. And I genuinely think if you have this industry on a pedestal, you should go work on a set for a couple of weeks. If you can find work on a set, they're always looking for, you can volunteer on a set. If no one wants to pay you, you can go do that too, just so you can have a sense of like, what are these hours like? The hours can be grueling. And I'm not saying this to discourage you. I'm saying this to tell you what it's actually like so that you don't put it on a pedestal. It's like meeting your heroes. I feel it's like, it is a fun job if you get to do the job that you actually like to do. Like I have been a writer for a long time, and that's a really fun job, but it also has aspects of it that are very not great. For me personally, one of the issues that I had was that I had very little control over my time when I was in a writer's room. And for me personally, that drove me nuts. Like that drove me absolutely nuts. And it was also very like demanding jobs in terms of hours. I worked weekends, I worked late, I worked early. Like, it's not a game. Is it fun? 100%. It can be, yes, but it is also a job. At the end of the day, it's a job, and your girl don't like jobs. Your girl don't like to work. Anyway. So take the industry off a pedestal. Remember that it is like any other industry in a lot of ways. It is very different. It's unique in that it's creative. Or like, let's say it's like any other creative industry. So that's there as well. Here's the next thing that I think is really important to navigate this, the current landscape that we're in, especially, and it is to learn to manage the emotional discomfort that comes with uncertainty and inconsistency around finding work. Now, this is something that you would have had to deal with even in a bustling industry. Even when the industry is bustling, a lot of writers and creatives, after they get that first TV writing job and that job either ends or it doesn't get renewed, the show doesn't get renewed, the show gets canceled, they fire you because they want to hire a different writer, and now you are back in the same spot. You're better because you have a better resume. You have that credit. Yes, you're better, but you still have to learn to manage the emotional discomfort that comes with not really knowing where your next job is going to come from. Now that is in a bustling industry, and you would still have to deal with that. And you're going to have to deal with that continuously if the TV industry is what you won't do. So how can you better manage the emotional discomfort of the uncertainty and inconsistency? Because if you want a creative career where you are your own boss, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty, there's going to be a lot of inconsistency. And my perspective is like, I honestly think that like no one is better or worse for like, going to a 9 to 5 job or pursuing their creative pursuits. Everybody's circumstances are different and everybody needs to make the best decision that's for them. I personally, if I can avoid an office job, if I can avoid a 9 to 5, a corporate job, I'll avoid it at all costs. That's me. Like I'll avoid it at all costs. That's me. Is that you? I don't know. What are your circumstances? Can you manage the emotional discomfort of the uncertainty and inconsistency of the industry, period, whether we're in good times or not? Okay, so I scared the shit out of you. I hope you're scared. Good. I hope you're scared for real. No, I don't want you to be scared. I want you to be smart. I want you to be eyes wide open. I want you to be savvy. I want you to go in confident, knowing what the deal is. So let's talk about the good news, which is that the skills you need to succeed in Hollywood are the same exact skills you're going to need to make a pivot should that become clear. Should it become clear that it's best for you personally to make a pivot when it comes to pursuing a creative career in Hollywood, the exact same skills that you need to succeed in Hollywood are the exact same skills you're going to need to make a pivot. So that's the good news. So let's talk about those skills. Let's talk about what you need to navigate a pivot, and I think also to navigate the current landscape. This to me is all the same thing. Whether you're making a pivot, whether you're trying to navigate the current landscape, these are the skills that you need. And I think first and number one is you need to be self-motivated. Why? Because as a creative in Hollywood, you are a creative entrepreneur. And the only way that you're going to get a job is to put your skills out there, is to get skilled, is to create work, is to make a name for yourself, is to make sure people know what you do, who you are, what you do, what you want. So you have to be that kind of industry requires self-motivation. And it's not, and here's the biggest thing. A lot of people, me included, I made this mistake. I kind of chilled on my haunches after I got my first TV writing job. I kind of like stopped like hustling. I stopped like getting it, because I was like, oh, I made it. I'm good. And then I found myself feeling like I felt trapped, honestly, in some of the jobs that I was finding myself in. I found that I didn't have as many options. And it was because I had lost my self-motivation. I had lost the drive. I had lost my vision. I had lost like my sense of like what I want to do, what did I come here to say? What did I come here to do? So you have to be self-motivated. And what does self-motivation look like? Does it look like taking the time to really clarify your goals? Does it mean taking the time to create work so that it can move you in a direction in your career that you would prefer, that you like more? What does self-motivation look like for you when it comes to navigating this current industry, or when it comes to navigating a pivot, if that's what you want to do? How can you be self-motivated? How can you be self-driven to to create opportunity for yourself, to create work for yourself. Skills you need in Hollywood, whether you're going to stay or go. Next one, self-belief. Self-belief is a skill, and I think confidence is a skill as well. I've said this before. Self-belief is a skill, and so is confidence. If you are someone who doesn't believe in yourself, if you're someone who doesn't feel confident, then that's not a clue to just give up. It's a clue to address the lack of self-belief and to address the lack of confidence that you're experiencing. It's the only way to move forward. In general, make sure to hit the like button if you haven't already. Make sure to drop a question in the chat if you have any. I'm paying attention. I'm looking for them. So we're talking about self-belief and how it is a skill that is necessary, and self-confidence in navigating Hollywood and in navigating a pivot, if that's what you want to do. How do you build up the skill of self-belief? How do you build up the skill of self-confidence? First, by addressing it and not just ignoring it and believing that it's just normal to just completely not believe in yourself and completely not be confident. Instead of seeing that as normal, start to address it. And it might look like just being understanding with yourself about why you don't believe in yourself or why you don't feel self-confident. Maybe people told you that you weren't good, or maybe people told you that you're never going to make it. And really looking at the root of yourself, your lack of self-belief and your lack of self-confidence, and addressing it, because it's going to be one of the most important things that you can do for yourself. I think all of these things that are here, but I genuinely think that like your mindset is the root of everything. If you don't think you can do it, you won't do it. If you don't think you can do it, you won't do it. And that's on period. And it's on period. The next skill. Having a vision and a direction for your life. Yeah. Having a vision and direction for your life. And I love to share my mistakes. I've made many. One of my biggest mistakes as a creative, I think, was I think I couldn't have helped this actually. Like I just was so green when it came to the industry. I'm so Haitian. I'm so Caribbean. I'm such an immigrant. Like I just was not brought up with the idea that I would be working in Hollywood. And for some reason, I just like assumed it's like a regular job, and it's totally not. So I think I went into the Hollywood industry really uneducated, really green, really not prepared to advocate for myself. And really just not understanding the industry well. So if you're here, that's good, because it means that you seek knowledge. It means that you seek understanding. It means that you seek to arm yourself with information so that you can advocate for yourself, so that you can create clarity for yourself about your direction. And so other thing was, and I read this in The Pathless Path by Paul Millard. He wrote the book called The Pathless Path. You know what, guys? One of these white men wrote this book, Paul Millard, or what's his name that talks about productivity, Cal Newport. Another two people whose books I love, highly recommend, especially Cal Newport. Cal Newport has this book. I forgot the name of the book. I'll look for it and link it in the description of this live after it posts. But Cal Newport talks in a book about career capital. But one of the things that he talks about is that one of the things that we don't do as we plan our careers is that we don't think about the life that we want to have when we're planning our careers. And this is exactly what my big thing was, that I just didn't know. I couldn't have known that, like, how important lifestyle was going to be to me when I became a television writer, because I had so little understanding of what the industry actually was. And I didn't know that I was going to be giving up my weekends and my nights and early mornings, and that like the kind of work that I was doing was going to require kind of 24/7 mental work, where I'm either thinking about my next move. I'm thinking about work that I have to do. I'm actually literally writing and literally doing stand up and literally doing all these other things. It just was such a mental drain on me. I also didn't understand work-life balance. I didn't know how to balance my life with my work. So I think part of the vision and the direction of your life should include, hey, what's important to me? What are my values? What do I want my life to look like? And what kind of work can I do to support my lifestyle, instead of just making the work more important than your lifestyle? Because I think ultimately people are disappointed and they don't really know what they want. Let's see. Here's the question. What would be your recommended next step for someone who was in the recent Universal Writers Program, but it ended abruptly because of the strike? It killed a lot of our momentum and it never recovered. What would be your recommended next steps for someone who was in the recent Universal Writers Program, but it ended abruptly? I think this really depends on your specific. I think this depends, because if you finished your project, you know, part of what the Universal Writers Program does is that it kind of like introduces you. It kind of like, you know, rolls you out to the industry. Like, here is a trained writer. And also it gives you like a built-in network of Universal executives, Universal producers, Universal shows that are like looking for writers. So it's congratulations, number one, that you got into that. They're super competitive. The training is really fantastic. Guys, I always get burpy on these lives. I'm really embarrassed. It's unbelievable. But I think that one of the things that you can do is to shop your script around, where if you were able to get repped, if you were able to get into any kind of writing competitions, or like, or basically, in what ways can you facilitate that rollout on your own? Basically, you know? In what ways can you create awareness about you and your skill level as a writer on your own? Yes, it is harder. Yes, that program would have been nicer. Can you reach out to any of the people that were involved in the program and ask them for advice, ask them to have a coffee, because you were already in the program. You already got, you know, you were already vetted by the people who chose you. So if you can do your best to keep in contact with those people, have coffee with them, ask them who their connections are, if they can help you get repped if you're not repped already, or tell them that you're looking to get repped and these are the kinds of the shows that I would like to work on. Basically, you have to pretty much facilitate that rollout to the industry on your own, is what it seems like to me, even though we're not talking directly. I hope that was a helpful answer to you. Here's another question. What should I be looking for in where to network? So I think that networking is more than just where you go and who you meet. I think networking is so much about what you do as a creative. I think it's so much about creating work and about creating I always tell writers and creatives to create a name for yourself as much as possible. And that part of that means like, part of that means, you know, is it raising your social media profile? Is it creating work and putting it online? Is it creating work and sending it into festivals and building up your resume and building up your credits and building up your skill level? Like, I think part of networking is being as good as you possibly can at your craft, as being as good of an actor, as good of a writer, as good of a producer, as good of a director. It's always about this personal evolution of just trying to be as good as you possibly can, because you want, for when somebody calls on you and gives you a job, that they feel like, yeah, good, I want to hire her again. Not only am I going to hire her again, I'm going to recommend her to somebody else. So you can see how you being the absolute best version of you, your most original, your most authentic. I always tell you, your authenticity, your originality is almost all you have, because other people are working hard too. Other people are smart too. Other people are funny too, but they're not you. So you is all you have. So if you can be the most authentic, most original, most skilled version of you, then I think that's 90% of the work. It's 90% of the work, because the people who are just looking to meet people to push their career forward, everybody can see through it. Everybody's working hard too. Everybody's busy too. And they don't have time for fake people bullshitting and wasting their time, instead of just actually putting out the work that somebody can look at and be like, oh, I see the work. I read the script. I saw the short. I saw the sketch that they put up. It's hilarious, or it's so good. It's so well written. That's the kind of networking you want. You don't want your networking to be, oh, I shook hands with this person or I got into this event and now I'm trying to talk to this random person for what? I don't understand that. It's like, get to work. So the next one is putting yourself out there. Yeah, I kind of talked about that. I didn't even see that. Putting yourself out there, being top of mind. Yeah, and I think the way to be top of mind is to put work out there, is to do good work, is to be proud of the kind of stuff that you put out. People can tell when you give a shit. People can tell when you care, and people can tell when you don't care, and they can tell when you don't give a shit, and when you're just wasting time, and when you're wasting everybody's time. So everybody's busy. Everybody's working just as hard. So don't waste people's time by not putting in the work to yourself, putting in the work on yourself. Keeping your skills top notch. That's kind of wrapped up in there as well. Keeping your skills top notch. That's wrapped up in there as well. You know, the more you exercise your creativity, the more you execute projects, the better your skills get, the classes, the everything. All the work you put in. I genuinely think effort is one of the most rich and valuable things that you have. And when you don't put in effort, the work suffers and people can tell. I'll leave that there. Using your talents. See, to me, this is the same as self-belief and self-confidence, is that you sometimes don't recognize what your talents are because you don't think you have any, or you think that maybe that's not true, because a lot of creatives, that's why you get into creative fields in the first place, is because you know you have some sort of talent, or you have some deep interest in the creative work that you're doing. So it requires that you are aware of your talents. But what other talents do you have? You know, what other talents can you nurture and explore and use to either navigate this current industry or pivot to a different one? You know, again, the same skills that we got here are what's going to make you work in Hollywood, and it's the same thing that's going to get you to pivot, because that's what it is. Creating opportunities for yourself. So, when Medium asked me what would be your recommended next steps, like that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, create those opportunities that would have been given to you had the program gone full force, fully forward. Where can you create opportunities for yourself? Who do you already know? What do you already have? What kind of ideas do you already have? What kind of skills do you already have? What's holding you back from creating those opportunities for yourself? Is it a fear of being seen? Is it a fear of looking stupid? Is it a fear of practicing in public? Again, just like the self-belief and self-confidence, if you have a fear of being seen, if you have a fear of looking stupid in front of people, practicing in front of people, failing in front of people, it's not something to be ignored. It's something to be addressed. It's something to be recognized and addressed. How can I be more comfortable being seen? What do I need to do? Does that mean I need to create some account that nobody knows about? Do I need to create a new identity? Whatever you need to do, make you feel comfortable to live your life authentically, and to live and to express your creativity authentically, express your originality, to grow, to really nurture it, and to see and recognize its importance. That's part of creating opportunities for yourself. So who do you already know? What contacts do you already have? What organizations are you already a part of? What skills do you already have? What ideas do you have that are just sitting on the back burner that could be opportunities? It's summer. It's about to be summertime for a lot of us. Not if you're in LA, it's always summertime for the most part. But for a lot of us, it's about to be summertime. And it's time to be outside. It's time to meet some people. It's time to hit the ground running. But again, like I said before, if you have no work to show, it doesn't mean that you can't be outside, that you can't be networking. But just remember that if, I think a part of networking, a big part of networking is what do you have to offer? And if that means that all you have to offer is your labor, like I can come hold a boom, I can come, I can be a reader on your table read, like what do you have to offer? If you don't have any, actual skills to offer because you're still working on them, then that means that you have your labor to offer, you have your enthusiasm to offer, you have your help to offer. Like a huge part of networking is not thinking about what you can get from somebody else, but what you can give. If you take nothing else from me today, this is it. Instead of what can I get, it's what can I give? What skills can I offer? What help can I offer? How can I give you an opportunity to see how to best serve me? Because that's the other thing. People want to help for the most part, usually, as far as I've seen. Most people are decent people, and they do like to see people who are hungry and people who are talented and people who want to get to the next level, and they want to help you. And if you're coming to them with neediness instead of something to offer, it just is, I think it's just something in our brains. We all do it. So never take it personally, because I'm sure you've done it to somebody who came at you very needy with nothing to offer and just wanting something from you. And nobody likes it because it's really unattractive. So don't do it. Come correct. Okay. Being ready for the opportunity you want. Sounds easy, but a lot of people are not. Sounds true, but a lot of people are not. How can you right now prepare yourself for the opportunities that you want? In what ways are you holding yourself back from being prepared for the opportunities that you want? All right. How can you prepare for the opportunities that you want? And in what ways are you holding yourself back from being prepared for the opportunities that you want? So that's the end of the presentation. I will take any questions if you have them. If I didn't scare the shit out of you, I am holding a 0 to Pilot class. You're going to be writing a half-hour pilot in this class. That's coming up May 4th. It's 8 weeks. It's a hybrid class. It's mostly online so that you can do it whenever the time works for you. And we'll have 2 meetings where we review the content of the course and I take any questions, and we'll potentially be reading pages if people have pages to share by the time we meet. And those meeting times are determined after the class has started. I also coach people one-on-one. You can do a one-time coaching session, or you can get a coaching package if you're like struggling to figure out what your next moves are and you really need some career guidance, or if you're struggling with self-confidence, or you're struggling with that self-belief and you need some guidance and some help getting to the next level when it comes to being confident in yourself, believing in yourself, then I'd love to help you with that too. So if there's no other questions, guys, I'm going to stop the live. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this was super helpful. If you have any other questions, make sure to leave them either in the chat. Ooh. Last question, hearing any positive things from your network regarding the industry? I'm hearing very neutral things. People would say that these things, like basically I'm hearing that there hasn't been much movement in the last few months. Every time I check in with my manager, there's not much change. There's not much movement. There's jobs are picking up here a little bit, picking up there a little bit. Pitching is picking up a little bit. But it's not like It's not like, Charla, there's money on the table. Like, get that pitch together, get that script together. Here's a job. You know, it's just not the same level of urgency and speed and constant movement. Like when there's a lot of work, there's just a lot of constant movement. There's a lot of deals being made all the time. Are there deals being made all the time? Yes. You go on deadline, there's deals being made every day. Absolutely. Is it at the same volume? No. Is it at the same consistency? No. So the volume has shrunk considerably, I would say. According to the numbers, 42%. So that's why it's like neutral. It's like quiet. So it's not, I would say that's negative. I would say the fact that it is neutral and quiet is not great. You want it like any industry, you want it to be bustling. And right now it's not bustling, but maybe that time will come again. Maybe we will see a shift to more independence in general. As a matter of fact, I highly encourage you to be as independent as possible. I encourage you to have IP if you can. I encourage you to have a platform and an audience if you can, if this is something you want, because it gives you more power. It gives you more say. It gives you more control, period. And that's on period. All right, guys. Always a pleasure. Until next time, get out there, get to work. Bye.